Right, and I'm being told that we are ready to start the Super Mario 64 Randomizer.
Well, welcome everybody. Back to GDQ. We are here doing a Super Mario 64 Randomizer race. You want to go ahead and introduce our runners? We'll introduce ourselves once we get kicked off. So.
Of course, of course. We have 360Chrism, Simply, and Puncayshun racing each other in Super Mario 64 70-star Randomizer.
Very good, very good. So we're going to go ahead and get this kicked off right now so that we can jump right into it. So I'm going to need y'all's help. So we're going to count it in. So in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so I'm Author Blues.
I'm Bird650.
And this is Super Mario 64 Randomizer. This is a really exciting randomizer. It's a lot of fun, and honestly, I want the crowd to really get into this one. The way this randomizer ends up working, the way all of these stars and coins get moved around, usually there's some pretty crazy things going on, and so we're probably gonna see a lot of really awesome gameplay. So if you see something, pop off.
Exactly, and right away you can see there's already routing differences here. We have I believe,
Chrism.
Yeah,
Chrism jumped directly into the Bob-omb battlefield painting. So there's only 2 paintings you can actually, or 2 stages you can get into right out the gate. There's the Bob-omb battlefield painting, and you can also optionally choose to go ahead and drain the moat and check what's in the Vanish Cap stage.
Exactly. And here in 70-star, you're typically going for the fastest routing here. What you're looking for is level loops, and we'll talk about that a bit later as more levels are discovered. But you're looking for levels that can link up together so you can get some quick stars in succession and go back into stages as fast as you can.
So a pretty common choice here for when JRB is found, Jolly Roger Bay, is to go ahead and bring up the ship. That's going to give them a lot more options going forward for other stars that they can get. And so you can see right here, Chrism is instantly going into the ship and grabbing the star that's in here.
Exactly. Now, certain stages are obviously better than others. A stage like a HMC is a good stage because it has a lot of freestanding stars, and freestanding stars are just stars that are already spawned in the stage that are free for the taking.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about how this randomizer works. So this randomizer is a single ROM randomizer, which means you don't have to run it through a generator or anything like that. You just put in a seed number and you go. We're running on seed right now. And what ends up happening is it moves around pretty much everything that's not nailed down. So pretty much everything that's not nailed down are things like the stars, yellow coins, red coins, events. So a lot of the event stars, the boxes, they completely move around. And the randomizer does a really good choice of trying to make sure that it places things in locations where they will be accessible. Occasionally you'll run into something that's a little hard to get, but most everything actually turns out to be accessible. The other thing that it does a really good job of randomizing is, and it's a little bit silly, but it randomizes your location that you start. And it's not just the first time you enter, but every time you enter, it's a completely random location. And that can make a pretty big difference about how you route your way navigating a level, depending on the level. You know, sometimes you're gonna spawn right next to a star, and so the choice is to just grab that star. Sometimes you're gonna spawn in a really difficult to reach location otherwise, and so you take advantage of having that position in the stage in order to try to find what's actually accessible over there and sort of write some things off at the time. Now, each of these stages actually has a set number of freestanding stars, box stars, event stars, and that hasn't changed. So if a stage has, for instance, 3 freestanding stars, it's going to move those 3 freestanding stars around within that stage.
Exactly, and that's what's so important about finding that loop that has levels involving a lot of freestanding stars, so that way you can go for those stars right away.
Absolutely, yeah. They're not going to probably be choosing to get a lot of the 100 coin stars, probably not going to be choosing to get a lot of the red coin stars in a lot of these levels, because they only have to get 70 stars. It's actually required in Randomizer to get 70 stars because the door to the endless staircase doesn't even open until 70 stars.
Exactly.
So that's really the smallest amount you can get. But for the most part, they're going to be going for quick events. They're going to be going for freestanding. They're going to be going for boxes. We're probably not going to see a ton of the coins and the red coins.
Exactly. Another thing to keep in mind, too, with this randomizer is that the star door requirements are also randomized. So in the normal game, Whomps takes about only 1 star to open. But in Randomizer, it could take anywhere from 1 to 15 stars, maybe even 20 stars. So it's all about routing for what you know is available, and so you can account for how many stars you need from stages beforehand.
And that comes with its own issues, because we talked about it, that when you enter a painting, it actually takes you to a random stage. That randomness is fixed by the seed, but you know, for instance, we entered Bob-omb Battlefield here, and it took us to JRB. You get kicked out of the actual stage's painting. So you enter the Bob-omb Battlefield stage, or the Bob-omb Battlefield painting, painting and you come out of the JRB painting. And the issue is sometimes you're going to find yourself exiting a painting and actually being locked in that room. You don't even have the stars necessary to leave that room. So you really have to figure out how to navigate the castle by finding these loops, finding these painting loops. Do you actually want to talk a little bit about what we mean by those painting loops?
Yeah, of course. So with the painting loops here, like Arthur mentioned before, when you hop into BOB in this seed, for example, you get thrown into JRB. We're looking for stages like a tall mountain, Snowman's Land, HMC, those stages that really give you a lot of free stars that are quick and easy. You don't have to do a lot of those events for. And at the end of the loop, you want it to loop back to the first painting you entered, so that way you can continue to just re-enter the same painting, keep grabbing stars as you move through the loop, and eventually, hopefully you don't have to grab too many additional stages that are outside of that loop, so that way you can have a fast route and be the most optimal you can.
And since all of the stages actually move around, you know, we get actual stages inside the Vanish Cap slot, and Vanish Cap might appear in another stage. You also have to keep in mind that that means that there's actually 2 additional locations where you can find stages that are kind of inconvenient. So the main one is the Metal Cap stage.
Oh yes, Metal Cap.
Where the place, whatever you find in Metal Cap can make a big difference on how that seed actually goes. If you enter the Metal Cap stage and it's a full stage with stars, that means every single time you have to enter Hazy Maze Cave and navigate to the Metal Cap location just to enter that stage again. So if you find a stage, for instance, like you mentioned, Tall Mountain, where there's a ton of really great stars that you're going to want to grab, your only choice is to continuously enter Hazy Maze Cave every single time.
Yeah. And actually, I just want to talk about really quick too. Chrism had just paused there, and you're going to see our runners do that quite often here, because pausing brings out the camera far enough to where they can look around without having to spend too much time in the C-Up Lakitu cam to look around. It's a great way for a stage like a Rainbow Ride. If you don't know if there's a star in the maze, you can hit the pause button right outside of the maze and see the full maze there and gauge if there's a star in there or not.
Yeah, there's quite a few stages where that pause cam actually makes all the difference. You can tell the difference between a runner who's done a lot of randomizer and a runner who hasn't, because they really do make really good utilization of the pause cam. Here we're seeing simply taking on the wing cap star. This one can be pretty difficult because, as you know, you can't really gain height with the wing cap. So if you're not paying enough attention, if you make a mistake, if you miss one of them, there's no way to get back up to it. You just have to restart the whole stage.
Yeah, exactly. There is a risk with it, as always, but it's up to these runners to adapt. That's what we're looking for here. As you enter a level, memorizing where things are and adapting to where you spawn, so that way you can have the most optimal movement. It's different every time, so it's really tough.
So we're getting comfy here in the aquarium. Puncayshun taking on not too challenging of a level. This is one of those red coins that we'll see. Another thing that's kind of interesting, a lot of people don't understand or maybe don't know how Super Mario 64 is put together, but for some particularly large levels, you sometimes end up with areas of the level that are separate loading zones. The randomizer actually maintains the things that are in those areas the same. So for instance, the 2 halves of Dire Docks are actually separate loading zones. So if you wanted to get red coins in Dire Docks, none of them are going to appear in the first half because they're all in the second half. And it actually makes red coins a reasonable star to get in Dire Docks as opposed to some other choices.
Exactly.
So it simply is taking the chance to try to get red coins in Vanish. You know, it's a time commitment trying to go up this slope and grab them when there might be other better choices. But it's kind of a guaranteed one. There's so few places that red coins can spawn in this level that you know that given enough time, you can get these.
Right, and that's where you got to gauge whether it's worth it or not, depending on what you've seen already from previous levels. Maybe you want to go for a star like this that's a guarantee that might cost you a little bit more time, or you might want to risk it in another level that has a more difficult star. You don't know if it's there or not. It's really up to the runners to adapt, like we mentioned earlier.
The randomizer did not improve the manta ray rings.
No.
Chrism's just good at it.
And they are very much the same. Nicely done.
So because of that issue of sometimes finding yourself locked in an area because you maybe don't have the star requirements for the doors, you'll see the runners often going into a stage to exit course and head back to the main lobby of the castle. That's a pretty common thing to do.
Exactly, and TTC right there, a fantastic stage because you have those 5 freestanding stars that could be anywhere. And sometimes you hit a jackpot where you can have 3 or 4 stars on one level of the clock, and you know exactly where to go every time.
Now, interestingly about TTC, you probably are already aware of the fact that what the clock hands are at when you enter it decides what the function of the clock actually is in the stage. But since you're not going into the clock face to go into TTC, the way it actually works is that whenever they go into the clock face, it locks it in place. So you can find yourself in a situation where you really only have to hit the TTC clock face one time to go in there, and then you have the perfect setting for TTC going forward. So
Exactly.
now, if I'm not mistaken, the Toad stars are also, their requirements are randomized as well, and so they'll appear once they have met the requirements for them.
The upstairs Toad still spawns at 35.
Right.
So it's just their placement will be different, obviously, amongst
Okay.
the castle, but their star requirements should still be
Okay, so that hasn't been randomized.
Right, that hasn't been. And MIPS is the
And
same way.
MIPS is the same way, 15 and 50.
And that one will also spawn in the same exact spot.
Yeah, MIPS does not move around, but the Toad stars do. Interestingly, there's a lot of Toads in the castle who don't offer stars, and so you have to figure out which one's the correct one and really keep your eyes out for whether or not one that wasn't there before is there now. That's kind of a hard thing sometimes, is you're really late into your randomizer playthrough, you're really late into the randomizer run, and you're like, I haven't seen any new Toads, or at least I haven't kept track of them.
Well, one of the things that also can happen is that an upstairs Toad can spawn where Bowser, the Bowser door is.
That's true.
And you cannot open that door.
Yeah,
in
if you're counting on that last Toad star to be the one that's going to get you into the endless staircase, a Toad can spawn in the endless staircase.
Right,
So.
and in the base game, you can go in there at any point. It just says that, you have the infinite stairs. In Randomizer, you actually cannot open that door until 70 stars are met. So if you have a Toad or two locked up there, then you're out of luck. It's also good to note that Bowser in the Sky is a vanilla location. It's where it's located normally, so that way you can't come across it just in a random level here.
Exactly. Yeah, so these level loops that we're looking for here, a self loop, a stage being in its correct location, which is not that uncommon. In a given seed, you kind of expect at least one stage to be in its normal location, just mathematically. That can be very helpful. That sort of really tight loop is a great way to get a bunch of stars on the board, open up doors. If you can find that, sometimes it might even be worth getting some disadvantageous stars in that kind of stage just so you can knock them out really quickly.
Exactly. I actually want to bring up something for Christmas screen here. In Lethal Lava Land, you have the star where you have to kill the 3 bullies to spawn the bigger bully and get the star from there. In Randomizer, obviously, the bullies are all shifted about, but you can actually tell which bullies you have to kill because there'll be sparkles coming from them. So if you just look for the correct bullies around there, you'll be able to tell and then go from there.
Yeah, earlier versions of this Randomizer did not have that. It was very interesting figuring out what was necessary and what wasn't. In fact, early versions of the Randomizer also did the same thing for Tiny Huge Island when you were looking for the piranha plants, because the piranha plants don't actually appear until you get right next to them.
Yep.
And so you'd have to scrub every single spot on the entire stage in order to find all 5 of them. Now they leave behind sparkles in their locations, and it's very easy to spot them, so that's really cool.
Exactly. And also the addition of having the star number above the star really helped as well. Previous versions did not have that, so when you had a star that spawned from, say, killing the Whomp King, you wouldn't be able to tell. It would be able to be mixed up, and it's hard to see sometimes. So it's good to have the star number above the stars now.
Okay, so we've been going on and on about this really great randomizer. So how are our runners doing right now? We've got all 3 of them pretty much neck and neck right now. We've found a lot of the stages already. We certainly haven't found all of them at this point, and that's fairly normal, that you end up having some holdouts that you don't find for quite a while.
Exactly.
But our runners have actually found quite a few of the stages and have traveled quite a lot of the castle at this point. I've seen quite a number of stages at this point.
Exactly. So at this point, I'm sure our runners are currently, while they're running through the levels, are currently trying to route out the levels they already have, seeing what's the most optimal path to take. It's still early, obviously, but once they start getting closer to that 70 star count, they can start taking out stars that they don't really want to go for from certain stages and focusing in on the ones they really do want to go for. One stage I'm looking forward to as well is Rainbow Ride, because one of the worst spawns you can have for Rainbow Ride will be on top of the roof for stars to be. Most of the time, you're not going to spawn there. And every time that
But when you do, it feels so good.
Oh, God, it feels so good.
There's nothing in the world that feels better than walking into Rainbow Ride and just being on the top of the house
Yeah.
Everything is perfect at that moment.
Yeah, you can clear out the roof right away. The unfortunate thing is if you don't and there's stars up there, you would have to take the carpet, and that just eats up so much time.
Or just do carpetless.
Yeah, it's as easy as that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, this randomizer has a lot of really great quality of life improvements. Things like actually numbering the chest wasn't always the case.
Those are some dark days.
Though I think that was before they started moving the chest, so.
Oh, that is true, yes.
So the 3 toads that we mentioned, they actually stay in their original loading zone. So there is 1 basement toad, and in the vanilla game, there's 1 in upstairs and there's 1 in Tippy. And since upstairs and Tippy are the same loading zone, the 2 toad stars up there will stay in that area.
Exactly.
So you could have 2 in Tippy, you could have 2 in upstairs. I always love how well they end up spawning and hiding, you know, hiding behind little pillars in snowman's, in the snowman's land room, things like that.
Yeah, the worst one is when you find him where you have to knock down the pillars for the Vanish Cap entrance.
We actually just saw Chrism there. He's making really good use of the pause camera strats. Stars just hide in the worst places in some of these stages. It always tries to make sure it places stars in locations that you can reach them. But you know, a slope that's going just like that straight down the mountain, that's technically possible.
It is, yeah. Some of these you'll see in like Snowman's Land, for example, you'll see at the very top of the hills there, near where the invisible wall is, and you're just wondering how do I even get the height for that? There's no wing cap or anything. It's tough. It really challenges you to make some interesting movement. As we see Simply here going for the metal cap. We'll see how he can handle the red coins here.
The red coins can be a little bit temperamental in Metal Cap, especially if one spawns really close to the exit.
Exactly.
If it's going that direction, it can be a little bit tough to get that and survive it without the actual Metal Cap itself.
Exactly.
Great movement here from Simply, though, using the walls to sort of jump back to the platform so he doesn't have to reset himself in the water over and over.
Yeah, that was very nicely done. And able to grab the star, too. That was very nice. Simply's feeling it right now. And we have Puncayshun going for the wing cap star right now.
Trying to grab that star that spawned in a really awkward position, which is really common in stages like this. You know, you have a lot of that geometry, tight slopes that you wouldn't otherwise want to climb. The randomizer says, sorry, that's technically a place you can get to, so we're putting a star there.
I want to bring up another interesting change, too, with the Mario Wings Over the Sky stage. Normally, when you fall off that stage, you actually spawn back outside into the castle courtyard.
Inconvenient.
Yes. Oh, and you see, I didn't see the starter requirement on that one, but obviously it wasn't 20 there. But when you're going through that stage, if you do fall off, you actually respawn outside of the Wing Mario stage. So it's an interesting change. People can use that for routing purposes, optimizing it. And
makes it viable for loops. So this is a great thing right here. So Chris went ahead and found the star box at the top of the slide. You really hate to see them as you're going down the slide. It's a huge waste of time and sometimes can be a little bit temperamental to grab it as you're going down.
Definitely. So Chris is now going to check the Bowser in the Dark World stage and going back here to see if he can pull off a good time on the slide. There we go.
Well done. So Bob-omb Battlefield has a lot of really good stars to get. Some of them can be really costly, though. Bob-omb Battlefield is a nice stage to find because it's a fairly tight stage. You can solve it really early. You don't have to come in here with a bunch of caps to be able to do everything. But it's just a lot of costly stages. And you know, if these runners were doing 120 star, if they were doing a non-stop variant, that may not be a big deal. But here in 70 star, you really have to weigh the cost of how much time it's going to take you to do each one of those individual stars.
Exactly. And you can get into a situation where you find 3 or 4 secrets right away in a BOB stage. And then you're like, okay, well, I have 3 or 4. I should go for the 5th one. and it could take forever to find it in a stage like that. So you got to weigh your options out, make sure you have the guaranteed stars before you start going into those kind of stars.
So every stage has a set number of boxes, and a set number of those boxes are going to contain stars. And so it's not obvious whether or not you should check each and every box. You know, the boxes are going to spawn in locations that are accessible, but that doesn't necessarily mean you want to invest the time to go get each and every one of them. You know, Chrism just saw here that box was back there, that he missed it. He's got to go back for it. Maybe another one up. Maybe it's the star.
And another one up.
And this is really what you were talking about right at the beginning, is that this is all about adaptation. Because, you know, you can look at a stage and say, oh, Bob-omb Battlefield typically has easy stars to get. Maybe they're slow. Maybe typically Shifting Sandland has difficult stars to get. But when you enter the stage and you take a look around, you know, you're met with whatever you have, whatever the randomizer's given you. And so that stage that might typically be difficult may be very straightforward this time. Or a stage like Whomps Fortress might have, you know, all of its red coins right on the death slopes.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's a common thing, too, is if once we get into Whomps Fortress, we'll let you know what we're talking about there. But they're often on those death slopes, and you have to route it out properly.
So we can see right here, these sparkles are making it so much easier for them to find what they're looking for. The randomizer did add the sparkles for the secrets as well, which is very nice to see.
Exactly.
But almost, I would say, it's certainly necessary for randomizing the secrets, but it's extremely helpful as well for the piranha plants.
Nice work by Chris to get the Wiggler clip there, and he gets in the entrance.
So Puncayshun's here in Wet Dry World. Wet Dry World is a fantastic stage, by the way. Probably one of the few where the 100 coin star is a really viable option. In fact, I would argue that for 70 star, Wet Dry World is pretty much a no-brainer to just go ahead and get all the stars.
Yeah, definitely, as well as Whomps. I think those are the two you're definitely going for.
Yeah, red coin star in Wet Dry World, you're guaranteed all the coins are going to be in town, so they're all pretty tight together. And in addition to that, while you're doing the 100 coin star, while you're trying to get all the coins from this area, you might as well just find the secrets. So
exactly. Now, if you're combining it with the 100 coin with the red coin in Wet Dry World, the only risk you run is if you don't have the vantage cap, if a star or if a coin spawns behind that cage.
And that can happen.
Yes, and then you're just kind of looking at it, saying, okay, come back later.
Same with Dire Dire Docks. You know, sometimes you will actually still manage to get a star or a coin somewhere inside that the rail box underwater. And so you really do have to make the choice ahead of time when you enter the Vanish Cap stage. You can say, well, hitting the switch is probably not necessary. It's a little bit of a time waste, but you'd hate to be that guy who completely skipped the Vanish Cap switch, and then you enter one of those stages and you just see, oh, I guess I'm just not getting a star here, huh?
Exactly.
Do you have a
Looks like
moment
Puncayshun
for me
going
to-
for the secrets here with the 100 coin.
Do you have a moment for me to cut in here for?
Absolutely,
Yeah, go for
please.
it. Yeah.
I'd just like to say we just passed the $40,000 mark on the 50,000 for one mine hard mode. So 10,000 more to go. Let's try and get that done before the end of this run.
Yeah, go for it. I hear the runners are really handsome.
I also have a $200 from Rooster Towel who says almost 1.5 million with a smiley face.
Yeah, you can keep going for a few.
Okay, we've got $120 from BDEF who says $120 for 120 stars. My mom passed away from cancer 7 years ago, and I appreciate Simply and all the GDQ runners help to make sure no family has to experience that feeling in the future.
So we just saw there on the cruiser, there was a box right above that star.
Yeah.
I'm really curious because if that box right above the star is the star box, that might just have ruled out.
That potentially can cost a very important star there. We'll have to see if there's another box around that the runners go for here, but that could rule out a very important star there.
Important to note that both of the paintings in the the Tiny Huge Island room actually go to the same stage. It would be a little bit strange if they didn't. One of the things that can really trip you up in that room is you typically just immediately make a beeline for the small painting.
Yes.
Or for you, the huge. Anyway, you typically make a beeline for that painting. Sometimes a toad is going to be hiding down one of those other hallways you just wouldn't think to look down.
Exactly, exactly. You have to really scan every corner. So like Simply's doing a very nice job here. We'll see what happens next.
Have we seen what's in Hazy Maze Cave yet? Have we seen what stage is in there?
I don't recall.
Okay. Well, I've got my fingers crossed for good news,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. We'll
The best case scenario is going to be one of those stages like Aquarium or one of the caps or, you know, Wing Mario Over the Rainbow, something where you only have to come there one time, so it's not, there's no returning over and over and over, which can be pretty costly and annoying.
Yeah, I don't believe anybody has checked the actual metal cap entrance yet. I mean, there's no reason to, especially in a 70-star, until you are getting thin on stars and locations to go to, but...
So what are your thoughts on JRB in a randomizer run? They added more coins, so typically it does not have very many coins, and so there are more coins in the stage, so maybe 100 coin is slightly viable depending on what is placed where. But in general, what kind of stars do you think we would see in that stage typically?
I think definitely you're getting the box star, you're getting
absolutely.
the freestanding star, and there's also the chance of you, especially if you can get ship clip, you can go for the chest inside the ship, and which can lead you to getting the eel as well. So typically you could get 4 stars from there. There are some better options, but that's where you really weigh your options and see how the run is going, how the seed is going.
Right.
You might have some stars that are locked out, like maybe Rainbow Ride has a ton on the roof there, so you would actually go in to JRB and get those chest stars instead, and go for that eel star. Typically, though, if you have a really good seed going, I would say 2 for sure. You can go for 3 if you want.
Sure.
Uh-oh. Ooh, that could have been a lot more dangerous there.
Yeah, TikTok clock is bad news. If you fall, somehow it seems like nothing will ever catch you typically. So.
Yes, exactly.
It does seem like this TikTok clock has a lot toward the top, though, so that's going to reward the runners who are fortunate enough to spawn near the top over and over,
Exactly.
and punish the ones who have to make the climb over and over. And again, that's what it comes down to. You know, you have to adapt on the fly. If you enter TikTok clock and you take the chance and you see you spawn at the very bottom, you know there's nothing left down there, I don't know, maybe you just dip. Maybe you jump out and try something else. Like, why would you bother climbing all the way to the top when another entrance might get you in a better position?
Yeah, that's very true. It all comes down to adaptability, really. It's amazing.
There's a really nice mix in this randomizer of stars that are sort of, you can trust them, they're consistent. Things like, for instance, that event star right there. The rings aren't moving, so you go to the same spot and it's going to spawn somewhere gettable. So this star is one that you know, the one that we just saw Simply doing right here. You're probably going to see everyone do through the jet stream.
Exactly.
But you know, you have these other stars like piranha plants in THI, where, you know, maybe I've seen a few of them. Maybe I've been in the stage a few times. I've located 2, 3, 4 of the sparkles. Do I invest the time to try to find the 5th one?
Exactly.
Or do I just, you know, go on to something a little more trustworthy? You know, I mentioned earlier Bob-omb Battlefield has a lot of trustworthy but kind of costly stars in time. But, I mean, how hard is it to just race Koopa the Quick to the top, and then you get a star that you can pretty much guarantee is going to be somewhere easy to grab, right? That's an easy one.
Exactly.
Even if it costs you like a minute to get it, so.
Yeah, and now I would have to argue one of the worst stages to actually see is a BBH here, because having...
There's so much gated behind
Yes.
Go on a Ghost Hunt.
Exactly. Go on a ghost hunt, that's just one of the worst ones, trying to find 5 booths that are anywhere in this place. It's a huge place to look. Each room individually, you have a basement, you have the roof. It's not good. Typically, if you're lucky, you can get 3 stars there. You get the boo on the balcony, you have a freestanding, you have the giant eye in the room. After that, you won't see our runners go back there.
So our runners have, I mean, as far as I've seen, been making good choices and haven't had a lot of real big mistakes. So we're just seeing Chrism right here spawning on the roof. He gets to get a full picture of what's going on up here. Now he knows what's up there. He can make choices in the future. Doesn't have to come back there if he doesn't want to, only if he needs whatever's up there, so.
Exactly. And typically you don't go for the red coins if you're in Rainbow
Right.
into 70 stars, so.
Yeah, absolutely. They can be anywhere.
We see Simply here going for MIPS and checking a toad along the way.
It's just good to find out.
Yeah.
Just barely missed him. But as I was saying, you know, Simply running away with it a little bit. I think he's found some loops early, gone ahead and invested the time in them. The randomizer is a little bit interesting in that it's not necessarily obvious who's winning just looking at the star count. That does not tell the whole story. You know, some runners have maybe already identified some easy to get stars. Some may have already invested themselves in some ones that are going to be troublesome later, but they know that they're going to want to go for them.
Exactly. So it all depends on what the runners have picked, whether they've gone for the harder stars first and then come back for the easier ones as they go through the levels and see where they're located. So like you said before, it really depends. We don't know who really is going to run away with this one. It could be anybody.
See, and that's great paying attention there with Chrism. Chrism saw, hey, there's a toad there that wasn't there before.
Exactly.
I mean,
right away. 35 stars, got to check.
In Randomizer, now you don't have to have the keys in order to access the different parts of the castle. So there's really no reason for them to fight Bowsers. So they're not going to fight Bowser 1, they're not going to fight Bowser 2. The only Bowser they're going to need is to finish off the game. So that's a great time save. The only benefit for them, and this is not going to matter for these runners, but the only benefit is that if you do beat Bowser in the Fire Sea, that does clear out the sub in Dire Docks and go ahead and give you the moving poles and things like that. So it's not that there's no reason to do it, it's just not strictly necessary, and these runners aren't going to need that.
Exactly. It looks like we're going to get a metal cap check potentially here on Simply's side.
I'm excited to see what it is.
Yeah, this is going to be a big one here. They're hoping to see a secret stage out of this.
So he's taking a look in the room. The room can have stuff all the same, and we see Whomps Fortress. This is a stage that they really, really are going to want to spend some time in, and so now that does not come at a cheap price.
No, not at all.
Every time they want to go to Whomps Fortress, and typically they would want to go to Whomps Fortress every time. That means they have to enter Hazy Maze Cave, see where they end up, and make their way down to that room.
Exactly, and that's early information that Simply has on a stage in Metal Cup. That's going to be huge for him here. We'll see when the other two runners go and check out, because eventually they'll have to. Whomps Fortress is just too good of a stage.
Absolutely.
You typically get all 7 stars there, so.
So in this situation where we have our runners, you know, now we're in a situation where Whomps Fortress is inside the metal cap check. Do you think we're still going to be seeing all 7? I mean, that's the real question.
Exactly.
Is that it's not cut and dry. This randomizer, it's not obvious how you make your choices, and not everyone's going to make those choices the same. It would be very helpful if maybe someone hedges their bets and tries to get them all out of Whomps Fortress and just prays for the good spawns in Hazy Maze Cave, but.
I think the runners are going to try to get as far far into the run and get close to 70, and then gauge how many times they have to re-enter HMC to get to Whomps.
That's true. You don't have to make that decision up front.
Exactly. I think they weigh their options, see where the other stars are, and go from there. Also good to keep in mind that the second MIPS does spawn at 50, so that will be another thing to route in with any other stages that they need to go to on the basement.
Yeah, you definitely want to leave some options for getting yourself back down to the basement without just walking there, so that you can come back for MIPS.
Exactly. So there's 2 toads that are in the basement. One will give you the star, one doesn't. They've obviously found the one that does not give the stars. So you see Chris still looking around, finding the second toad there, right in front of DDD.
So Puncayshun right there showing us that box was not inaccessible. It did turn out to be the star box, but it was not inaccessible. So, you know, got to make your way back to the cruiser a second time, I guess.
Yep.
Simply really taking advantage here of the fact that Tall Island is the wing cap location, because the nice thing is that no matter where you end up, you can always exit course back to that exact spot and re-enter Tall Mountain. Honestly, whatever is at that location almost becomes a self-loop at that point.
Exactly. You can pretty much throw it in with any sort of loop you're currently on whenever you feel like it. Say you finish like a TTC right away, instead of, you know, you can re-enter and just exit and go right to TTM whenever you feel like it. So. Another use of the pause strat there by Chris to look around and see where the stars are, able to find that star there.
If you want to give us a donation, that would be, we've got a little bit of time for it.
All right, I definitely have donations.
Awesome.
So I've got $50 from Snoop, who says, "Hey, Author Blues, I love watching when you're on the mic in GDQ events ever since I saw your hilarious commentary of St. Million's run of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Put this donation to the One Mind run, because we have to see that. We're just shy of 42,500, so need, you know, about 7,000 more. We have a few more donations that are aimed at our runners, so let me find a few more of those. We've got one here cheering on Chrism, says $50 from Shinny D, says donating to support Chrism. You're one of my favorite speedrunners, and these Mario Randomizer runs are always amazing. Good luck. And we've got one cheering on Puncay to round out the 3 runners as well. We've got $25 from Wolven, says, longtime watcher, first-time donator. Greetings from the Kentucky Smash community. Always excited to see Puncay destroy Super Mario 64. We're all rooting for you, and may the RNG gods be on your side. So thanks everybody who's donating, supporting the One Mind hard mode, and of course cheering on our racers here.
Yeah, let's get a round of applause for our racers. Honestly, they're doing a really great job right now.
Yeah. They're playing very well. No really big mistakes that I've seen either.
No, everything's been really solid so far. The difference between our runners is really just coming down to the choices they've made so far, and they haven't been bad choices. It's just this is all going to come together toward the end. That's really how this ends up working out.
Once you start to get to about the high 50s, low 60s, you can start to gauge where they are. And again, I don't believe Puncay or Chrism has checked the medal cap yet, so they don't know that Whomps is there.
Yeah, the thing about this randomizer is just there's so many different choices you make along the way. Information is king. So, you know, when you find that information, sometimes acting on it instantly, you know, you find a really great stage and you just go ahead and clear it out of all the stars. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Or you know it's there and you know it's something that you can add into your workflow. You can pick that stage, you know, when you don't have a lot of other things to work on and you're sort of working through what your plan is in your head. Go to a stage that you can get some easy stars.
Exactly. And it's all about taking into account the level layout there. If you don't love the layout, like you said, maybe you leave it for later on. If you think it's a good enough layout to knock everything out right away, then you go for it while it's fresh in your head.
Oh, God.
Wow.
What a move. Okay, I'm sorry. That was amazing.
That cage wall is so thin there.
I've never seen that before.
Exactly.
Yeah, that cage wall is punishing, too, because they will push you through it just
Yes.
as easily.
Yes. So that's very well done by Simply there.
Yeah, for these runners, especially for 70 star, I think Bowser in the Fire Sea is going to mostly end up being a wash. I mean, you know, if you end up with a good position, you may say to yourself, I'm going to go for red coins. You know, Bowser in the Fire Sea is pretty temperamental, though, because, you know, what if one of those red coins spawns right over the funnel going to Bowser? That can be really hard to grab and get back out of.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And then you got to take into account how big the level is itself and where the star could spawn. You might go from the bottom of the level up to the top, and then the star spawns back at the bottom, and you're just wasting too much time going for one single star.
I think that acquisition of information is really starting to make the difference now, because, you know, we've seen for a while Chrism and Simply have had a really close star count. You know, they've been neck and neck, and Puncayshun's was like 10 stars away before, but I think he's starting to act on some of the information he's been collecting. He's found where those loops are and found the movement he wants to make, and he's just starting to pick them up rapid fire.
Oh, yes. His star count is going to start shooting up pretty fast here. It's going to be very fast.
Wet Dry World itself is such an easy one to just, I mean, you can press the button and you're almost there instantly. So.
Yeah, exactly. See Chris going for one of those for sure stars there, the rings. Like
so what stars do you go for in the in Shifting Sandlands in 70 star? You know, the pyramid is a pretty tight space that has a few freestanding stars, a few easy choices you can make. But what else are you really getting in Shifting Sandland?
Well, you got the freestanding star that's outside the pyramid. You have the one with the bird and the talons of the big bird there. You do have the freestanding star inside the pyramid that you could typically go for, and you can go for the boss, the IROC boss there, because that's a consistent one.
Absolutely.
If you're not sure.
Yeah, IROC's room is actually its own loading zone.
Exactly.
So when you go in there and you kill him, his star spawns right next to him.
Exactly.
That, as far as randomizer stars go, that is the most consistent one. If you can get in there, you've got it.
Exactly. So if you're looking for one more star somewhere, that is a consistent one to go for. If you take a look around, you might be able to find, if you find 3 secrets right next to each other within the pyramid, you probably want to look for the other 2 and just hope they're not up high.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, you want to spawn up high and work your way down the pyramid, not climb up.
And there's a lot of stages that actually work like that. We were talking about Tick-Tock Clock before. You know, Tick-Tock Clock can be a frustrating stage to make your way from the bottom to the top. You spawn at the top, you kind of have a perfect view of everything down below. You can just grab whatever you want to.
Exactly.
And so in stages like that, sometimes you might just forfeit the attempt you're at if you spawn toward the bottom and say, I'll come in again. You know, if you spawn at the very bottom of the level, why even bother? If I come in again, I've got a 50-50 shot of spawning the top half.
Exactly, exactly. Good example of that also is Cool Mountain. You spawn down below where the wall kicks for work area is. It's not a good time. It's a big time waste, and you risk falling off the stage trying to get back to the other side of the stage.
This is another example of something just like that. You know, Puncayshun right now is working on Red Coin Star inside Tiny Huge Island. This room, you know, none of the red coins can spawn up in Wiggler's part of the room, and they're not spawning outside this room.
That
so.
was a previous issue.
Oh, was it?
Versions,
Okay.
Yes, we would have the star or coins spawn up there.
I remember early versions of this where sometimes you'd kill Wiggler and the star would spawn in the ceiling of
Yes.
Wiggler's room.
Yes.
It's like, sorry.
Again, previous versions were rough.
And it's important to denote or note the difference between the ways this randomizer randomizes things. Some things are fixed. You know, you enter Tiny Huge Island and you see a box. That box is always there.
Exactly.
But like your spawn in the stage is random every single time. And in addition to that, when you do event stars, what we call event stars. So for instance, when you kill Wiggler or you kill, you know, Whomp here in Whomps Fortress, that star is going to a completely random spot. And so sometimes you might find yourself in a situation where you perform the event, you get the star, and you say, I'm not going there.
Yeah. Just gonna give it another shot. See, second MIP's coming out there for Simply. He's gonna be routing out more the secret stars, potentially more toads. I don't know if he needs one more toad. I think.
Yeah,
He's only gotten 2. Not too
I think Chris might have all of the toad stars.
I believe Chris
Because
does.
we definitely saw 2 upstairs.
Exactly.
And I think all of them found the basement one, if I'm not
Oh, there we go. He simply just found
Okay,
it now. Yeah,
okay.
there we go.
Well, he's well positioned.
Yes.
Yeah, this stage is actually perfect for grabbing coins. You know, you can get, you know, not a lot of people know, but you can actually get 10 coins off of each of the wimps. What?
Close
Wimps?
enough.
The small
The womps.
the small womps, because not just the 5 you get for killing them, but when they fall down, you can actually jump on top of them 5 times. Each time you jump, you get an additional coin.
Exactly.
And so getting to 100 is actually pretty easy. You've got a bunch of opportunities for 5s. You've got the blue coin switch. You've got red coins all over the place. You've got these really nice structures like the arrow, always spawn together. Basically a freebie for 100 coins.
Exactly. Again, like we mentioned before, there's typically 2 stages you always get hundreds in, Whomps and Wet Dry World. The third one, if you're feeling confident, is TikTok Clock, because that could go pretty fast. The box.
Yeah, there is the 35 coins right there in the
Exactly.
middle, so.
And if you get a lot of boxes together, a lot of those 10 coin boxes are huge.
Yeah, you're already scouring the stage for star boxes, so along the way, I mean, if you don't get the star immediately, you probably identified, you know, 30, 40 coins that way.
Do you have a moment for a few more?
I do have a moment for a few donations, please.
Okay. I've got $1,000 from Instonote.
Wow.
They thank you very much for that donation, and they say, oh, wow, I'm glad I stayed awake for this one. And it's been a great run so far. We also have $25 from Hard Corpse Bro. It says, I always love these unique Mario runs. Randomizer and One Mind, amazing. Good luck to all the runners. Keep up the good work. This donation is going towards the One Mind hard mode run. And we did pass the 43,000, so we need about 6,500 to go now. It'd be great if we get that before the end of this run.
Great clip there.
And of course, we're going to close out with $200 from Jeff MCG, who says, why is Toad so popular at parties? Because he's a fun guy.
I'm able to leave the couch right now.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not. So now we've got Chrism. He's gotten both of the stars from the cruiser. Rainbow Ride is such a. It
could be so good.
I know,
But it could be so bad.
you have so many seeds where Rainbow Ride is just, hey, would you like 4 stars right here? And then you have so many seeds where, sorry, they're all on the roof.
Yeah. So, I mean, typically you could find 1 or 2 down below, but when you have it to where there's 2, even 1 star on the roof, you're just thinking, all right, probably not going to go for that one at all. Carpet just takes way too much time. Then you have to start throwing in some other stars that you're maybe already counting out, and it's just tough.
Yeah, Lethal Lava Land's another stage. It can be temperamental, but most of the stars relatively straightforward in their execution. 2 of them are freestanding inside the volcano. Dip inside there anytime you want to grab them. The red coins are all over. If you've got the wing cap, you can get the red coins really straightforward.
Exactly.
You've got the main bully star, you've got the small bully star.
There's another freestanding star outside the volcano as well.
Exactly.
So
Lethal Lava Land, while it can be a difficult stage to navigate, that's not a problem for these runners.
Exactly.
That would be a problem for you or me. But this stage is a really nice one in Randomizer just because there's so many easily accessible stars.
And now we're getting to that point of the run where you start to look at stages and see what you've gathered already from those stages, what's worth it to go for, what you might need to go for.
Yeah, at this point, they have all the information on the table. You know,
Exactly.
you can't see it here on stream necessarily. I think you can see it a little bit in the webcam. But all of these runners have a tracker with them. They're keeping detailed notes about everything they've seen so far. You know, they're not just memorizing this. They're not jumping into random paintings. They have a plan. And at this point, they've gathered about as much information as they can expect to get before the end of the run. There's not a lot more that's going to come to them. And so now's the point where they have to start deciding, okay, that stage that I passed up earlier because it was in a bad spot, do I go back there? Do I keep digging in some other locations? Do I maybe make the way back to Whomps Fortress, even though it's in Hazy Maze Cave? You know, you have to make those choices.
Exactly. I think Whomps Fortress is one of the worst ones to see there too.
Yeah, it really is. If it were a stage like Cool Mountain or Bob-omb Battlefield, you could kind of write it off. Those are slow stars. Maybe I won't bother. But Whomps Fortress, they're all just coming at you. It's those stars are really easy to grab typically, and now you've put them slightly further out of reach.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of Randomizer.
Looks like Puncayshun's hunting around for the basement toad star.
I believe so.
Sometimes you can just find yourself in a situation, and this is really common in Randomizer runs, where you've gotten into such a habit of navigating the castle through paintings, you know, jump in a painting, jump back out, jump back in, that you haven't really been keeping a close eye on what toads are where. You haven't been keeping a close eye on when new ones have appeared. And so finding the remaining toad star, like he did right there, can actually be a task of just, okay, I'm going to walk up to every one of them and say hi.
Yeah. Good to try to route that in with your route too. If you're done with the stage that you've just jumped out of, it might be a good time to go for those
Just
toads.
look around a little bit.
Looking around while you're heading towards that next stage.
Chris doing a great job of staying out of the water. That's really what you want in Metal Cap. The red coins are not hard to collect in this one. This one is a really good choice for getting the red coins.
Nicely done there.
Really, really good execution.
I don't know if you saw it there.
Yeah,
there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Excellent.
Nicely done, yeah. Very well executed there.
Puncayshun managed to freeze the clock last time he saw the clock face, and so he's getting a really good opportunity to stop and get a good vantage point of the stage. Just wants to figure out what he's looking at for the most part. You know, it's not enough to just, he saw a star, jump straight into it. Take the time to look around.
Chris missing the star there, I believe I think he landed on the enemy there. We missed that.
The star just does not want to be got.
Yeah, and sometimes you get those enemies that are just in that spot.
Right.
If you're trying to jump onto a ledge, knock you right down.
Honestly, having a hard time grabbing the star is the best possible scenario, because what's worse is when you're jumping into the water for every single red coin. That's 8 times you're just swimming to the back, coming forward.
Oh, yeah. Get a situation like that you definitely don't want to be in. It's a nice star pickup there for Simply. Getting close to the 70 count here.
Yeah, not too far off.
Is very close here. And Puncayshun still has a lot of free stars there he can get. He can catch right up really fast. So it's really still anybody's game.
Yeah, from what we've seen, we haven't seen Puncayshun grab a lot of the really fast stars. So I'm wondering whether or not he's been saving them up, pooling them. He's got a plan for them. I certainly would not rule him out by any means. This is a nice thing about these runners having such a good handle on moving around these stages in ways that you really don't see in normal speedruns. I think that's one of the things that I love the most about Randomizer is that there's typically no reason to know how to navigate certain parts of stages. There's no reason that you would need to know what's the shortest distance between these two spots. And it really shows the difference between runners who have memorized the speedrun and have gotten a good handle on that, and people who just know how to move a Mario.
Yes,
right?
exactly. One thing I want to bring up about the Bob-omb King here is this is actually a pretty decent spot for the King.
It could be way worse.
Yes, because the way it works is if the Bob-omb King is on a slope and walks down that slope, the game thinks that he's fallen off of his original fighting platform, and he'll reset his position, and you'll have to refight him. So the fact that he's not on a slope is very good.
Chris heading back here into Whomps Fortress. Honestly, I think toward the end of each of these, we're going to see them hitting Whomps Fortress pretty hard. I think once you get to this point in the seed, you're in the 60s, you just need a few more. You could probably find other stars that are going to be quicker than navigating all of HMC just to get to Whomps Fortress, but they're there in Whomps Fortress.
Exactly. It's a situation, again, where if he's at 65 stars, he knows there's 5 more left in Whomps. He has a guaranteed 5 there. Maybe he can pick 1 or 2 more out somewhere else, but he has those guaranteed stars in his back pocket.
And since Simply brought the ship up, that means the eel has moved into the spot that he can actually use it to get the event star. So, sort of 2 for the price of 1 almost.
Exactly.
You get one of those stars, you get both of them. Yeah. And that's a pretty easy choice in Randomizer. There's no reason not to go for that.
Exactly. And that's typically the 4 stars you'll see. If you're really struggling, you might see a red coin come out from there, but most likely not.
Yeah, chests and red coins are so situational in that stage. Red coins in general are just so situational. Sometimes you just find yourself in a stage, it's not a particularly large stage, and you find a whole bunch of coins at once, and you say, why not? That's what we're doing this time.
Exactly. Especially if you're just gathering information. One of the things I like to do is, if you're going for red coins, you can take into account what other stars are there as you're collecting those red coins. A stage that's good for that, for example, is Tall Tall Mountain. Especially if you start at the bottom and work your way up, you can mark where each star is in your head and then get the red coin star, then revisit to get those stars you've retained information for.
Yeah, you definitely have to be careful with the King Bob-omb fight because having him drop even a little bit sometimes can be enough for the game to treat it as if he got thrown off the edge. That's how the game detects that he gets thrown off the mountain, is that he lowers further than where he started the spawn. So you can get spawns where he's just on a slope, and just the act of walking down the slope like 5 steps, exactly. He says, sorry, I'm out.
Yes, exactly. Now, walking up is totally fine. That doesn't cause him to reset. So if you see him on that long slope in B.O.B., you have to
walk him all the way to the top.
And it's a long walk.
I have a big one when you have a moment.
Go for it.
Yes.
I've got $10,000 from the Yeti.
Wow.
They say, hey all, Yeti here. I'm simply having a wonderful time watching this run. I can't imagine the mental gymnastics involved in trying to keep track of all the randomized routes for a run like this. Major props to all the racers. Let's give them a big round of applause. And of course, clicking under that one, we've got $100 from a fronter. He says, it's awesome to see runners with such a depth of knowledge of a game that they can adapt on the fly with a randomizer. Good luck to the runners, and try not to bonk.
So we saw Puncayshun, riding the slope to get into town. Don't want to necessarily have to open up the cannon. It's slow.
It is slow, yes.
Yeah, so he rides the slope to get over there. 2 pretty easy stars over there in town. I mean, that's a place you want to be. It's got the freestanding star, it's got a red coin star, and all those red coins are just like right in there perfectly. So.
Exactly. And a cool fun fact to know about the randomizer as well is that there's so many different options, so many different seeds you can do. I believe there are a little bit over 65,000 seeds.
Yep. It accepts a seed number from 1 to 65,535. So there's a lot of options for this randomizer. We actually chose our seed based on the donation total when this run started. So thank you for helping these runners pick their seed. Tall Mountain, such a great stage to find, especially if you can find it in a good location.
Oh, yes, definitely.
You know, with the exception of maybe 100 coin star, most of them are just really easy to get. Exactly. And even then, I think in the right setting, you might even see a runner grab a 100 coin star in 70 star.
Yeah, it would have to be a pretty rough seed, I'd say. But overall, I think you're right. I think five stars for sure. 6 and 7 if you can. The red coins, honestly, are not a bad pickup in Tall Mountain.
No.
See Chris getting close to that count.
Very close.
Simply not too far behind. Puncay still going for the fast stars in Whomps here. Curious to see what last 2 stars.
Yeah, I'm interested in what he's got saved up.
Yeah, it looks like he's going back for Whomps again here. Last time he entered HMC, he had a beautiful spawn. He actually spawned in the metal cap room. This time on the opposite
Still not
side.
a bad location, though. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can end up clipping down into the caverns.
Exactly.
Which, you know, we were talking before about how it's a little annoying, the fact that you have to go through Hazy Maze Cave every single time to get to whatever is in Metal Cap. But honestly, there's so many different ways in the stage to get down there that it almost doesn't feel that punishing.
Right, exactly.
Well, as punishing.
Right. Simply also going for the Whomps entrance here.
Yeah, it looks like for sure Chrism and Simply have decided to round this out with Whomps Fortress.
Yes. So just one more star. What do you think it is?
Looks like he's picking one of the Wet Dry World ones. I'm actually surprised, Chrism having so many Wet Dry World stars left uncollected, that he didn't focus on this, but given how easy it was to access Hazy Maze Cave, that doesn't surprise me terribly. Yeah, Secret seems like a pretty good choice right here. You're guaranteed that the secrets are all on this half of the level. There's only a few spots in this stage that would be bad spawns for one of the secrets. So.
Exactly. And it's really not that big of an area, so it's not that bad. Secrets are definitely a good option here.
He's definitely being careful not to hit any of those water changers. The worst thing you can do in this stage is to hit one of those water changers and bring the water level way up, and then it's just a pain to navigate.
Like that one right there. That is a terrible spot there. But
a mean spot, yeah, for sure. Simply goes into Wing Mario over the rainbow and says, no thanks.
Nope. Definitely one of these slowest stars you can go for, and riskiest too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That marks 70 for Chris. He's going to be working his way up to Bowser in the sky. We'll see what kind of strats he does here. He does have 7 lives, so one of the things he can do here is enter the stage, see where he spawns. If he doesn't like it, he can jump off the stage, re-enter, and try to get a close spawn. You can get as close as right next to the pipe, so we'll see what he goes for here.
Yeah, I mean, the way it ends up working out, you have a 50-50 shot of ending up in the second half of the level, right? If all spots are relatively equal, then every time you enter, you have a 50-50 shot of spawning more than halfway through the level. You end up with a bad spawn, you say, screw it, I'm jumping off the side.
Exactly, and this is good enough for him, so
yeah,
he's going for it.
He's happy with it. He actually made a really smart choice. One of the routing decisions you do kind of want to think about is, what is your last star going to be? You're always going to the same location at the end of the game. And he made a pretty smart choice, intentional or unintentional, to get his last star somewhere that dropped him off upstairs.
Exactly, exactly. Well, obviously, one of the best places to end up is TTC or Rainbow Ride.
So we got Simply now,
Yep,
only
very
1 star
close.
left to go. And Puncay, only about 10 to go. I mean, he's right at the end now with enough information to really probably have quite a few stars to round this out.
Exactly. This is actually a very, very good pace for Chris right here.
Fantastic.
Does give Simply a little more time.
Simply's looking around for that last star. He made the same choice, too, to save his last one for something that's going to take him upstairs. Maybe not, I mean, probably not enough to catch up with someone who's only got 1 Bowser throw left.
Yeah,
but
let's see if he nails it. Oh, and he hits it. And time will be coming up soon here for Chris.
Yeah, time coming up for Chris. Simply now got his last star, and he's heading up the same direction.
Exactly. And time for Chris. Very nicely done. A 58.29 is an incredible time. That is very well done. Simply, like you mentioned before.
Simply only a few minutes away. A good spawn here. He could still be...
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Looks like it's still good enough for him to take the level, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's not going to jump out for that.
Exactly, yeah. Would you like to say anything? No. That was a great time, yeah.
That seat was awful.
I know.
Well, we didn't pick the seat, okay? GDQ picked the seat.
Yes.
You know, honestly, you fall that far. I mean, I don't know. Me personally,
I'd be jumping off.
I'd be jumping off.
Yeah. Sometimes I get in there, I'm like, nope, we're just going to retry that.
You know, we didn't really mention it. It's not something that comes up in vanilla, obviously, but one of the interesting things about Hazy Maze Cave, it's such a broad stage. It can be so hard to find stars. One of the neat things, though, is that when you're in the stage, there are some spots you can stand where you can look up or look around and actually see stars at quite a distance. And if you have a pretty good mental map of the stage, you can look in a direction, see a star way over there and say, I know roughly where that's located. That can really narrow down the search.
Oh, it's huge, definitely. Simply here going for the final Bowser here. Able to get the first throw.
So Puncayshun's keeping a close eye on his notes. I think he has a plan in place. You know, he's got some stages. He's aware what stars he's collected so far. He knows kind of what he wants to do. Yeah, he's been keeping really detailed notes, which is exactly what you need.
You definitely need to.
And with that, Simply, with his last Bowser throw, we're going to get time on Simply in just a moment.
Time there for Simply. 1 hour there is still a very, very good time.
Yeah, it's
Very well
impossible to
done.
really keep track of exactly which stars you found. It's impossible to keep track of exactly what stars you found, but the tracker can at least tell you, you know, you've got 3 freestanding stars, you've got an event star, you've got a box star, and you can use that information to keep track of that stuff pretty well.
Looks like Punky will be heading back to Whomps again, a very consistent stage.
Yeah, for sure. It's one you can guarantee you're getting stars in.
Exactly.
I think right now he's kind of in between a few ideas. I know when I play Randomizer, a lot of times if I'm not quite sure what I want to do at a given moment, if I haven't quite formulated my plan, you know, sometimes I'll have saved stages, just easy brainless stars I can get, while I kind of think about, okay, do I want to go this route? Do I want to do this thing? And that's definitely something that you have to think about. You have to figure out where are you going to take the time to actually stop and think about your routing.
Exactly, exactly.
So I've got some donations when you've got a moment.
Yep.
Go for it.
We've got $10 from Esmo. Says, Auth is doing such a great job on the mic right now. I feel so bad about making one mind even more difficult for him. But I don't feel quite as bad about giving more of a challenge to Lack Attack. Let's make this goal. I also have $25 from Miss Missa. Says, the Super Mario 64 Randomizer's the one I've been looking forward to all week. It is definitely living up to the hype. Thanks to Chrism, Simply, and Puncayshun for such a fun race.
Yeah, let's get another round of applause for our runners.
Yeah.
Give Puncayshun your energy.
I also have $25 from Scrivo. It says, hello, Author Blues, lowercase a. Your pal Scrivo here. Good luck to you and Lack on the one mind run. I'm sure you have it all under control. Wait, no you don't. Yes you do. No you don't. Now you do. I'm so confused. Oh well, good luck anyway. Have fun donating for hard mode. And we just passed 45,500, so we need 4,500 more to go. Let's try to get that met before the SMW starts.
I'm interested to see what stars Puncayshun has left to go for here.
I've kind of been trying to eye his tracker a little bit, seeing what's left in some of the stages that he might be saving toward the end. He's definitely right now hitting Whomps Fortress over and over, and I would do exactly the same thing right
definitely,
now.
yeah.
You're
Whomps
getting toward the end of the seed. A lot of your other options, you've seen them, you don't love them. I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Exactly.
At least Whomps Fortress. At least you can trust in Whomps Fortress.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Puncayshun's made the decision to not see this one to the end, and that's, I get it.
Yeah, big round of applause for all the runners here.
Yeah, this seed had some rough spots in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get it.
I wouldn't be able to finish this one. Trust me.
You want to do a few shout-outs?
What up, everybody? That's Big Samp in the house. I don't know what happened to Punkay, but yeah, Randomizer is pretty cool. 144 is my best time ever, and Chrism destroyed both of us, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, right now in Super Mario 64, there's a lot going on. There's a bounty for $5,000 for the next person to get a 138 and 120 star. And so me, Puncayshun, and a couple other people are grinding, Liam, Paracusia, so it's a really cool hunt. A lot of people have been really close, myself included, and Punkay. So check out our streams on Twitch. We're grinding every day after AGDQ is done. Shout out to everybody at AGDQ. This is so awesome. I love this venue. Shout out to Raccoon, killing it on the donations. Absolutely slaying it. And thank you to the gentleman, fine gentleman on the couch. Good games, Chris. And My Booty is Bopping is now on all streaming services, all platforms. Please check it out. It is incredible. Thank you so much, and have a good one.
All right, thanks one more time to all of our runners and the couch. That was amazing. We just hit $46,000 for one mind, so let's try and get that met. I've got one donation here, $101.01 from Ultimate Mango that says, let me get ready for this, 0100100 0110111 0110111 0110111 001100001. Yes, thanks. That is honk! Exclamation point and binary. With that, we are going to take a quick break, and we will be back shortly.
All right, welcome back to Awesome Games Done Quick 2020, powered by Twitch. My screen name is Covert Muffin, and I'm going to be leading up the hosting station for the next couple of runs. And hype indeed, because we have tons of donations coming in. Thank you so much for the support. The next run coming up is indeed going to be the Super Mario World One Mind co-op run with Author Blues and Lack Attack 24. And so if you would like to see the control of the character swapped every 0.5 seconds, we have just over $3,000 to go. So keep those donations coming in, and let's close that out before the run even begins. Yeah, let's go Twitch chat. All right, and Twitch chat seems to be responding with a $5 donation from Lacupo that says, I want to see the SMW One Mind run in hard mode. So let's get a donation train going. Oh man, the train does seem to be going. We have $5 from OmniBelt114 that said, did I hear a $5 train for One Mind hard mode? Choo choo, let's make this train roll. Wow, and we only have just over $160 to go. That we just closed thousands of dollars in mere seconds. Come on, Twitch chat. Oh. Wow, and speaking of hype, we have a $1,000 donation from Adam T30. And there is no comment with that, but thank you so much, Adam. And we have hit that incentive. We're going to see One Mind on hard mode. Thank you so much, folks. I am super pumped to see that run. But before we get there, while our runners are still getting set up, we're going to throw it over to Keyzeron with an interview with the Super Mario 64 Randomizer crew. Take it away, Keys.
Are you guys sick of me yet? I've been here all day. Anyway, you know me as Keyzeron, obviously, and we have the SM64 Rando runners here. How are all of you doing?
Very good. Really good.
Pretty hype race. Pretty excited to watch that. So I kind of want to talk about like the history of the SM64 Rando. So I'll throw it your way, simply.
So basically, it started out and it was really buggy and it would crash a lot. So, you know, it kind of worked out the kinks, but it was always sort of the same from the beginning. But sometimes stars would like spawn out of bounds. And so if you were planning to be like, oh, I'll get this star in TTC, sometimes they just be out of bounds. You couldn't get them. And then over time, it's all kind of worked out. And now it doesn't seem to crash at all. So it works pretty well.
Unfortunate if it crashed, especially right now, you know.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty rough. So with something like this where it's obviously randomized, so you gotta really figure out what to do on the fly. So how do you mentally approach routing something like that? Like it's a little unique in the sense of it's not like a Pokemon randomizer, like you and I are super familiar with that. It's just a Pokemon shows up randomly, but this is literally throwing you all over the place. So how do you even approach routing like that?
Generally, every stage has a set of stars you always want to get. It doesn't matter where they are. And that number is about 66, 67 maybe. And then there's also a few that you'll skip in this seed, but not in this one, based on where the stage is. Like in our seed right now, Whomps Fortress was in the worst possible spot in the middle of HMC's metal cap.
Right.
So, and traveling there takes so much time. So I personally didn't get every star in Whomps.
Yeah, I got a couple, but it's just
Yeah, a
like,
couple.
it's not worth how long it takes to get
It's
there.
not worth traveling all the way. So we skipped those and focused on slower stars and other stages.
Right. Now, in a case like this where you guys are racing, are there any stars that you would maybe consider going after, kind of like as a YOLO play?
The biggest YOLO play in Randomizer is when you know there's a star on the top of the castle in Rainbow Ride, and you keep re-entering the level over and over again until you spawn on top of the castle. That's the biggest YOLO play.
Yeah, if you're in that position, it's really scary because you
don't want to ride the
RNG.
carpet. The carpet takes like a minute and a half. Right?
Yeah, so you got to do carpetless.
Exactly. You spawn on top of the house.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave after hearing that joke.
Now, like an
Oh,
approach,
you're throwing it back at me now.
it's like an approach like this. So we got rando versus like vanilla. Obviously, other than the routing and on-the-fly changes, is there really any other different approach to it, or is it just kind of play the game, get your technique down, get whatever trick you can pull off?
Are you talking about vanilla?
It's kind of comparing between randomizer and vanilla.
Yeah, I feel like randomizer requires a lot less prep. Like if you've played vanilla, you don't really need to, because you're gonna do different movement every single time and you're in a different spot every time. So I remember when I first got into randomizer, like I was obviously very comfortable with the vanilla game, but I was so clunky. Like I was not used to the way that I was moving and getting around the stages. So it definitely takes some getting used to be like, okay, there's a lot of slopes. This slope is dumb and it won't work. So
Yeah,
I don't
you
wanna
learn
go
so
on that
much.
slope.
You learn so much stuff about the game you didn't know before, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Are there any other games that you guys play that you might like to see a randomizer of that you might want to race eventually?
Well, I personally, and I know you do, a lot of Pokemon Randomizer. That
course.
stuff is so good. I don't know if there's any other. It'd be cool if there would be like a Sunshine randomizer.
That could be cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
We could do something like similar to this. So we're going to throw it to some social media questions real quick. We did get a few. So we'll start with @WitchingMedia. At what point during the race did the difficulty really ramp up?
The ending, and because you're frustrated. Which stars do I get now?
Yeah.
That I got all the easy ones and obvious ones already.
When I discovered that metal cap goes to Whomps, like I just want to leave the room. Right? That's the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah,
that is awful. And I was like, this just has to happen on a GDQ randomizer, doesn't it?
Of course. I mean, it's GDQ tradition at this point in time for something like that to happen,
Like,
right?
preferably you'd want it to go to like Wing Mario of the Rainbow, because you don't get that star. That's like perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like worst case scenario.
Now, I kind of did touch up on this a little bit, but from Nick11, that's a lot of Nicks. What do you think about when choosing to do certain stars while skipping others?
It really just depends on the seed. Like how in this one, okay, Whomps is usually you'll get every single star in Whomps because they're so fast. Even like fighting the Whomp King, and sometimes 100. I don't usually do 100, but you get at least 5 stars from Whomps. But obviously in this seed, it took way too long to get there. So then obviously we're gonna skip it. But in terms of like if you can get to the level relatively easily and you can find it within a certain amount of time, like BBH, sometimes there's a star that you can't find. Like you know it's there, but it just won't show up.
Always either you get 1 or you get 3.
Right.
It's so random. The stage is awful.
Yeah, you gotta know when to cut your losses.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just spend too much time.
I just wanted to bring up Whomps again because like Metal Cap went there. I decided to do 100 coin because that's 2 stars in one trip.
That's what I did,
like
yeah.
the smartest decision.
Interesting. I did not do that.
I'd say it's the smartest decision, but I got annihilated.
What happened?
I don't know. Like I thought I was doing fine, and I'm like, okay, Chrism's done. Simply's probably close. A couple minutes later, he gets up. I'm like, wow, I'm that guy at AGDQ.
It's okay. It was still a good showing regardless. Now, we do have this from @Wolfman2020. I say 2020. 2000. I can read, I promise. How accessible is the randomizer to those who do not know all the glitches or the advanced movement tech?
I think it's pretty tough to beat if you're new to Mario 64, but everyone should be able to beat it in 70 star at least.
Yeah.
I think everyone can pull off a 70 star playthrough.
Do you guys have any favorite courses, as asked by JVGL, both in vanilla and randomizer?
TikTok clock, probably.
In both?
In vanilla for sure. Randomizer, probably like Whomps.
Yep.
I think I like Wet Dry World the most in vanilla, and also TTC in rando. Yeah.
And yourself?
TTC, vanilla, and Whomps, and Rando. Because it's just so free. You know you're going to have a good time.
You copied me. Because I love you.
This is a little bit of a flex for me, not gonna lie. But this is from Vesper. If you had to choose any other N64 game for another randomizer, what would it be? Hashtag bring back keys and fees. Oh, there's some fans out there. You poor fools.
Banjo-Kazooie. That could be pretty cool.
All right, that actually, yeah.
Donkey Kong 64.
But that game runs at like 12 frames per second.
Well, fix that too.
Oh, just make it a 60 frame per second with the randomizer. Well, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and try to talk about prizes again. I know it was a disaster last time. We do have a little bit of organization going on this time. So I did mention before, there's a massive Sony prize pack. Like, it is absolutely ginormous.
Wow, that's huge.
It is ridiculous. It's $75 minimum donation, and it goes until the end of Control. You have limited edition, collector's editions, whatever you want to call them, of Death Stranding, God of War, Horizon. You get a bunch of like different statues and stuff. Death Stranding even comes with like a case for one of the statues. A couple of extra controllers so you can set it up, play with your friends right off the bat. Really, really big prize pack, so definitely get your donations in. We also have, I don't have it with me, but we have Honk's Awakening banner, because you guys love the goose. So what better way than to have a banner celebrating AGDQ, I can talk, I promise, AGDQ 2020. Good job, Keys. Honk's Awakening banner, $50 minimum donation, and that's open until the end of the marathon. We also have a custom GDQ PC from the Yeti, $100 minimum donation. Once again, until the finale, we could all use a really nice PC to play on, for sure. And then, of course, we have the grand prize, which $200 minimum donation, heroic replicas. We'll make a custom replica with some restrictions of pretty much anything you want. We have like the Hylian sword and shield that we've seen in the past. We could maybe make, a giant TikTok background for SM64. Maybe a giant dog anamorph. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff you could do there. Be sure to get those donations in. Once again, I was Keysrun, and I was joined by probably 3 of the coolest people you're going to meet at GDQ.
Aww.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you for that excellent interview, Keysrun. That was great. Speaking of which, we have a lot of hype lined up for you guys tonight and plenty of runs and incentives to be met. That being said, the next incentive on the docket is for the Control run coming up a bit later. And so if you're looking for a bit of meme potential, you could unlock the Dynamite music video that happens pretty close to the second half of the run itself. And that still has about 7,500 to go. So keep those donations coming in and make sure you are putting them towards an incentive. Oh, yes. Woo! Yeah. Speaking of which, we have $25 from Nicholas P. that says, very excited for the Super Mario World run. Good luck to the runners. Thank you, Nicholas. We also have $20 from Mary Kate that says, let's see Lario and Luigi in action. One Mind Hard Mode hype! We also have a pretty big donation coming in from Kyle245 for $500. Kyle says, the world lost an absolute magical legend this week to cancer. This one goes out to Neil Peart of Rush, who helped shape and inspire many lives through his drumming, creativity, lyrics, composition, and dedication to his craft. Huge thanks to GDQ for providing a venue for so many generous and wonderful people to fight and take our loved ones back from this awful sickness. No, thank you so much, Kyle, and every single person who has donated to this event. Thank you, guys. Yeah. As a quick reminder, here at AGDQ 2020, we indeed are raising money for Prevent Cancer Foundation. The Prevent Cancer Foundation, founded in 1985, is a US-based nonprofit organization. Their mission is to save lives across all populations through cancer prevention and early detection by focusing their work through research, education, outreach, and advocacy. Their vision is to stop cancer before it starts. You can find out more information about PCF at preventcancer.org. Thank you, Prevent Cancer Foundation. We are proud here at AGDQ to be raising money for you.